Hello, everyone, and happy World Vape Day 2023. This is definitely one of my favorite days of the year because this day is totally dedicated to celebrate vaping and harm reduction and all the lives saved by this fantastic innovation. The choice of the date is not coincidental and falls just one day before the World No Tobacco Day proclaimed by the WHO. And World Vape Day should showcase that vaping and other harm reduction tools are among the most efficient ways to help smokers quit. And that's why we celebrate it. And despite of the opposition from the WHO towards harm reduction, it already saved millions of lives around the world. This is the WVA's fourth edition of World Vape Day already, and therefore I'm really happy to welcome the rest of our team and wish you guys a happy World Vape Day as well. So happy World Vape Day. Just as a very quick intro, we have here with us Julia in Italy, Alberto in Spain, and Lisa, Mariam, and Lika in Georgia, actually in one of the vape shops from our ambassador program. So welcome everyone, and maybe Lika, you can kick us off with a short overview of what's going to be happening in the next few minutes or hours.
Hello and happy World Vape Day. Coming to you live, we're here at one of our ambassador vape shops, Vaporia, who were kind enough to host us for this celebration today. So very huge thanks to our partner Vaporia. Let me quickly walk you through what you can expect today. You'll be hearing from us about World Vapers Alliance recent activities and achievements. You will also hear from our partners who have prepared a short video address to celebrate World Vape Day. And last but not least, Professor Bernd Mayer will be debunking vaping myths. And there's so much more. So stay tuned.
I think we could, yeah, sorry, I was off for a second. Lisa, maybe you can give us a quick overview. Who supports this day? Who is behind that? And who helped to make it happen?
Absolutely. And first of all, let me say that I'm really thrilled that we're celebrating the World Vape Day this year too. As Michael mentioned, it's been the fourth World Vape Day already, so it's really exciting. I want to talk a little bit about WVA's community because in 2023, we already managed to expand our network. We already have over 56,000 vapers, individual members in our network, and 35 partner associations. So I wanted to say big thank you, first of all, to our members who stand for the cause and who are engaging in the conversations and are supporting vaping globally. Moreover, when it comes to our partners, they have put tremendous efforts in vaping advocacy locally in their countries and worldwide. And let me say that we are honored to have this opportunity to collaborate with our partners and unite our forces in defense of vaping. I also want to use this chance to thank our fellows and vape shop ambassadors, and we are in the vape shop at the moment who are also our ambassadors. Those are relatively new addition to WVA's network, and Lika will tell us more about the fellowship program and ambassador program in a while. And generally, it's been a long thank you monologue, but I think there has been a lot of things going on, and community overall has been contributing to that, including partners, individual members, vape shops, everyone. So on behalf of the WVA team, we want to thank everyone, and let's keep on raising our voices.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I can't really add anything to that except of also a big thank you to all partners and members, fellows, ambassadors, and basically everyone who is very enthusiastic and supports the cause and raises their voices everywhere. Because we as WVA, we basically follow three main goals with all of the activities you will hear about in a bit. The first one, Lisa already kind of mentioned it, it's to raise vapors' voices because vapors were ignored way too long in almost all countries worldwide. So we try to do everything we can to support the community in the fight for better vaping regulation. And that is already our second main goal, because we want to ensure that regulations are drafted with vapors' interests at heart, or in other words, to just have good regulation and to have as many people with the same opportunities as we have to have access to products will definitely help people to quit, and the politicians finally start listen to science. And the third goal we will also hear about today a lot is to combat misinformation in all kinds of spheres, especially in media, but also in politics and the general public. We hear time and time again that we have those kind of misconceptions and misinformation, but also simply also lack of knowledge in all kinds of areas. And I think this is one of the main reasons why we end up with bad regulation. So we try to do everything we can to change that and raise awareness for those important issues. And with that, I want to go into a couple of activities that we did over the last year, and then we will hear also what we plan to do next. Mariam, maybe let's start with our Flavors Matter campaign, which was one of my favorite things we did last year to start off with.
All right. Well, first, happy World Vape Day, everybody. Let's dive into what we've been doing lately. We were very busy and achieved a lot of things that we are proud of. Before I move to the Flavors Matter campaign, I want to touch a little bit our TPD campaign. This was one campaign that stood up. It was Back Vaping Beat Smoking campaign, and its goal was protecting the vapors' right, but also fighting for better EU tobacco products directive legislation. And we participated in the consultations, hit the streets with the vape shop tours, and organized community gatherings, and had many discussions with the politicians. And we even prepared the 7-step plan for politicians. It was science-based recommendation on how to reduce smoking rates in different countries. And my colleague Alberto worked on this a lot, on this plan, and I just want to ask him, what was it about and how it worked, Alberto?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much, Mariam. So the 7-step plan was a policy document that we developed this year for several countries, and in it we basically make evidence-based recommendations for policymakers to be able to reduce smoking rates in their countries. And actually, these plans had the focus on the most urgent measures that each country needed to take to tackle smoking and to make sure that they kept vaping as an available and a very attractive alternative for a smoker to switch. The plan was tailor-made for every country, and we actually successfully pitched it to legislators in some countries such as Italy and Portugal. So a very interesting document. I recommend everyone to dive in our website and look for it. And we hope that it is a useful tool for policymakers that are fighting the smoking epidemic.
Thanks, Alberto, for your answer. And most importantly, thanks so much for working on this very valuable document. Again, with this BVBS campaign, we wanted to show everybody how many lives could be saved if vaping was available, if vaping was kept available in Europe. Unfortunately, TPD consultation just ended, and it was filled with biased questions, and we don't expect anything good from it. But let me assure you, whatever happens and whatever's on the table for discussion, we will do everything possible to make sure that this life-saving technology is available for everybody, and we will keep fighting for vapors' rights. Another important thing for vaping success is flavors. And as Michael mentioned, flavors are under attack in many countries. But we have some good news. Our famous Flavors Matter campaign had a really big success in Sweden, where thanks to our activism and the community members and also other vaping activist organizations' involvement, we were able to organize the community. And in June 2022, We celebrated the big victory when Swedish government voted against flavor bans. Well, congratulations everybody in Sweden and everybody involved in this campaign, because it's such a huge win for everybody. But this is not all. Thanks to this achievement and saving the flavors in Sweden, we still celebrate Swedish achievements in Swedish success in them achieving the 5% smoking goal. And Julia, my colleague, was in the heart of our activities in Stockholm. So let's hear from her what happened in Stockholm and what we organized there.
Thank you so much, Mariam, and happy World Vape Day to all the vapers around the world. It is my pleasure to participate in the second World Vape Day with World Vapers Alliance, and I'm very excited to share with you our successes and our achievements, what we've done in the past year. And yes, Sweden has been quite a remarkable case study for many countries who are planning to achieve smoke-free goals, because in the last few decades, smoking rates have declined by 55% in Sweden, thanks to consumer-friendly tobacco harm reduction policies. And in fact, ever since Sweden embraced snus and supported snus on the policy level, the smoking rates have been dropping massively, and it's been happening since 1980s. So this year at World Vapers Alliance, we wanted to celebrate Swedish success as it's achieving its 5% smoke-free goal, 17 years ahead of the target set by the European Union. And we launched a campaign back, Beat Smoking Like the Swedes. And this May, we went to Stockholm, where we hosted roundtable discussions. We heard from the members of the Swedish community, we heard from the producers, we heard from the activists, we heard from vape shop owners about their frustrations around vaping and tobacco harm reduction policies worldwide, and especially in the European Union. And we also hosted a very exciting activity. Our very friendly Viking community in Sweden decided to join us to celebrate Swedish smoke-free goals, and we deflated a giant 5-meter tall cigarette in front of the Swedish parliament in the heart of Stockholm. And it was a wonderful experience to showcase that Swedes know how to beat smoking, and that the European Union and other countries can use it as an example. And so we have also prepared a wonderful documentary about the whole journey, how this happened, and we would like you to watch it and take a look how WVA managed to beat smoking like the Swedes.
Good morning, guys. It's 5 in the morning here in Vienna, and I'm on the way to the train to the airport here in Vienna, because I will go to Stockholm today, where we have one of our bigger protests of the year and a big campaign to celebrate the success of Sweden, which will be the first country to achieve the smoke-free goal. And today we would like to take you with us and show you some behind the scenes action and how a typical day when we have one of those campaigns looks like. So forgive me, it's early, but you will see some cool things, what's happening in Stockholm and what we do there and how this typically works for us. Enjoy.
Okay, so.
Whew.
Hello, vapers. Welcome to Stockholm.
What do you want to do?
Today we are here with World Vapers Alliance. We are having our art installation with a huge cigarette with 15 Vikings in front of the Swedish Parliament to celebrate Swedish smoke-free miracle.
I mean, the big guy.
I don't think we've got time to.
Well, just have it and then we've got this room till like 7, 8 o'clock.
What time is it now?
Is your phone? Don't put that somewhere safe.
Yeah. All right. Well, should we get people in?
Do you want to?
Well, yeah.
Bring them all in. We'll do them waves.
Do they want to just click it and go in that room and put it on, or?
It's been a long journey of preparations for today. We've been working with the team to prepare the location, to find all of the. We needed to get the permission to host the installation. We've set up these huge banners, we've set up the cigarette, we've had 15 people dressed as Vikings to go and promote the idea of the Swedish miracle.
Wow, it's windy. There is Julia. Hello, Julia. It's 9:30 in the morning now, and I just arrived in Stockholm. And before I hop on the train from the airport to city center, obviously I need some nicotine. But before we get into the vaping policy, I have to say, come on, Sweden. You might be the harm reduction champion, but 6 degrees outside in May, that is insane. Luckily, you know how to beat smoking, and we need to work on the weather. So we just had our stakeholder meetings with consumers, vape shop owners, other local activists, and had almost a 2-hour discussion about Sweden and Swedish policies and what the EU can learn from Sweden, which was very intense but very fruitful, I would say. And I think what we all saw is how important harm reduction is on an individual level. We heard crazy stories about lifelong smokers who had severe health effects, and how alternative products such as snus, especially in Sweden, but also vaping and nicotine pouches, help those people to finally quit cigarettes. And I think it's a very inspiring story to see a full country to finally achieve the smoke-free goal, which was set by the EU and means that a country should have a smoking rate below 5%, and then it's considered smoke-free. And Sweden will achieve this year, and that's why we celebrate this and hope that the EU and other member states will notice finally the Swedish anti-smoking miracle actually, and follow their lead instead of what they propose so far, which is flavor bans, higher taxation, so very tough regulation for safer alternatives to cigarettes, and they mostly keep cigarettes untouched. So I hope that this helped and we can unite a little bit with the local community and alleviate this story to the EU level, because those products are in danger, and I think all consumers but also politicians who already are on our side need to understand that and raise their voices and act upon that. Now I'm really looking forward to go to the Swedish Parliament, where we will have an art demonstration and we will tear down a 5-meter tall cigarette. I have no idea how that will work or how it will look, since we have never done that before, obviously. But it sounds at least like fun, and I think it will be fun, and you will see a lot of pictures and a lot of videos of us deflating a giant cigarette with the help of some local Vikings. So Julia, we are here in front of the parliament in Stockholm. Why are we actually here?
Hello Michael, hello vapers. Today we are in Stockholm to celebrate Swedish success in becoming the smoke-free country. We will be having a roundtable discussion together with stakeholders, media representatives, consumer organizations, vaping activists, and our community here in Sweden. After that, we will be having a protest demonstration to celebrate Swedish journey to becoming the first smoke-free country. We will be deflating a 5-meter tall inflatable cigarette. And if you are in Stockholm today, join us at 6 p.m. in Wintergate Square. and we'll be happy to meet you, to discuss the Swedish success story together, and have a great time. So, Michael, are you excited for today's events?
Oh yeah, let's beat smoking like the Swedes.
The idea of deflating the cigarette shows that there is no more smoking, there is no more traditional smoking, combustible cigarette smoking in Sweden, and I think it's a pretty remarkable achievement for the country, as nobody else has done it yet. The governments have tried so many different things. They tried flavor bans, they tried raising taxes, they tried banning sales of products, but it doesn't really work, right? And so I think Sweden has proved that you cannot just prohibit things. You have to allow people make conscious choices and make products available, and make sure that it is risk-based, make sure that you have proper education and that people are aware of the risks of different products, and then you have to let people make choices for themselves. So it is 1 hour before our beautiful Viking installation, and on our part of the city it is raining. We are really hoping that it will not be raining on the part of the city where the installation will be happening.
Let's hope so, otherwise the cigarette gets destroyed by the weather and not by us.
So what is next for the WVA after Stockholm?
Now the big challenge is to spread the Swedish miracle to the EU level, but also to member states. So the next few weeks we will spend pushing the whole story of Sweden to the European Parliament and to its members to showcase that harm reduction can be done in reality and save lives in reality. It's not just studies, it's actual real life, and we have now a whole country which is proof that harm reduction works. So our challenge is to make sure that politicians and EU politicians know about it, hear about it, and stop ignoring it. So we will go to Brussels as well. There we will bring some of our Vikings in front of the European Parliament too. We will have a press conference about the Swedish miracle and try to meet as many decision makers as possible to convince them to beat smoking like the Swedes.
Hello world! So today it's day 2 of WVA's trip to Stockholm. We did the Viking protest yesterday. We did the roundtable discussion with members of our vaping community. Michael, are you happy with the outcome?
Oh, that was fantastic. 15 Swedish Vikings deflating a giant cigarette. I've never seen that before, so that was very cool. And also meeting with the local harm reduction community was inspiring, and I hope now it will be as inspiring with the politicians.
Yes, I feel like yesterday we formed a very loyal Viking community in Sweden. It was really wonderful, and it was so great to see a lot of people who came by, who showed their interest, who contacted us and are learning more about smart harm reduction policy. So I think it was quite successful.
Very nice.
Yes. Stay tuned for more adventures from the World Viking Alliance.
Whew. Part 1 done finally. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Did I drink before midday?
What time is it?
It's 5 p.m.
5 p.m. somewhere.
Well, I hope you enjoyed, and this is not it. Tomorrow we'll be in Brussels, where we will be continuing our journey to advance Swedish harm reduction experience and the success story on the EU level. And we will be hosting a press conference in Brussels in front of the European Parliament, together with members of the European Parliament, together with representatives of the activist community in Sweden around Swedish examples for the European Union on how to achieve smoke-free goals. So stay tuned tomorrow, and then I forgot who's next.
I'm next.
There is no fixed order, so everyone can chip in. I'm looking forward to meet the Vikings again, I have to say, because as we have just seen, it's a very cool thing. But obviously, we hope that more groups and more vaping organizations will be doing some kind of activation and campaigning on the streets, and to get more and new people into the movement and give them the hands-on tools. We established the WVA's Academy, and Alberto and Lika organized them this year, but also the last few years. And Alberto, maybe you can give us a quick overview. What happened and what did you do?
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. So as you said, this year we organized again an academy in which we had a lot of activists and people interested in advocating for vaping, and they had the chance to acquire the essential knowledge on vaping and the main skills to successfully defend vaping in their countries. And this year, for the first time, we actually had 2 simultaneous editions, one in English that Lick took care of, and one in Spanish that I organized. And we actually had the pleasure to have great doctors, physicians, very experienced activists, influential people as speakers for the academy. So we actually could learn a lot too. And we had a lot of participants from, I think, over a dozen of countries from Latin America, Europe, Asia, Africa, all over the world. And I think it was a complete success. I think some of the participants could really develop a lot of their skills in order to successfully defend vaping and promote tobacco harm reduction in their countries. And I think they are actually already doing it, some of them, right, Lika?
Thank you, Alberto. And I'm so glad we got the chance to organize Academy again this year, as it always gives us an opportunity to meet amazing participants from all over the world. And those participants then go on to join our different programs. One of them is fellowship program. We have already 5 fellows who have joined us over the course of last year when we launched this program. And they're doing amazing activities on the ground in their own communities. So thanks so much to them. And speaking of growing communities, our ambassador program is also growing daily. We have about more than 150 ambassadors involved currently, vape shop representatives all over the world. And by becoming ambassadors, vape shops have the unique opportunity to become part of this huge network of vapers. And our ambassadors then become multipliers of our common message, which is vaping saves lives. Thank you to our ambassadors, and over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Lika. That is obviously one big part of our whole work we do, to organize the community, to support the community in all possible ways. But we don't only organize community meetings and protests, but we always try to combine it with political outreach as well at the same time. And we try to meet as many decision makers as possible. And only this year we met almost 40 local and European members of parliaments to try to convince them to embrace harm reduction and to follow sensible regulation and listen to consumers and science. And despite that many politicians are open and understanding of the issue, obviously there is still a lot of misinformation out there. And we see that in the parliaments as well, and especially with the people who make the rules, it's problematic. So we do everything we can to inform them, to provide them with accurate information. And we are very thankful to those who listen to us, because I think that's the most important thing. And we encourage you as vaping consumers to raise your voice as well and send them your personal stories on our website. You can look for the Action Center and directly message a member of parliament of your country, or just write them an email, send your own personal video with your story, how you quit smoking with vaping, because those are the most powerful stories or the most powerful tools we have when it comes to engagement with politicians, because that's hard to deny. And I think more politicians need to be urged to listen to us. And that's basically what we do. Because too many of them still don't know enough about it or have misconceptions. We even hear this very basic. Some of them, they see something coming out of a vapor's mouth and think this vapor is the same as cigarette smoking, which clearly it's not, obviously. But then they automatically believe then it must be treated the same as cigarettes. And we campaign for the opposite. We want risk-based regulation. And in order to achieve that, I think we need to debunk as many myths as possible. And I think Lisa can tell us a little bit more about how we do that and how we approach the myth busting together with the vaping community.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to talk about that. So some of our viewers and those who watch us might actually already know about this campaign. It has been initiated by the vaping community. And the aim of this initiative is to debunk the most common myths about vaping. And we all know that the main enemy that vaping has is misinformation, and vaping is getting those attacks from different aspects. That's why when we heard about this initiative as a WVA, we were thrilled, and obviously we're supporting this campaign. We are also adding our own materials. So there is a link on internet, and it's going to be posted in our comment section as well. If you're interested to see what are those myths and what is this material, you can follow the link and you will see what vaping community generated and also what we try to support with. I want to show you that we even brought some stickers here to the vape shop. So it's very important to spread the word about this. So if you like our material, don't be shy to put it on the social media or reshare it. Post it, basically raise awareness about all the misconceptions that vaping is facing. I'm talking about misconceptions and myths, but some of you might have a question, and very legit one, which myths precisely we're talking about, because there are many. And I want to switch to my colleague Alberto, who's been doing a lot of research on myths and how to debunk them. Alberto, could you tell our listeners what are those myths more precisely, more in detail?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. So yeah, as Michael was also saying, some of the myths around vaping are very concerning, and it is very urgent for us to fight this misinformation, right? Because as long as the public opinion and the policymakers believe that these myths and that this misinformation on vaping is truth, we are not going to be able to adopt the appropriate policies. And yeah, there are a lot of myths. There's a lot of misinformation going on. So we cannot go through all of them because, I mean, there are really crazy things that people believe about vaping. Some of them are very basic, right? So, for example, as Michael said, some people see that smoke or vapor goes out of your mouth and then they think that it is the same and that it needs to be regulated the same way. People think that vaping might be even more harmful than smoking and that it does not work for quitting or that it is more addictive, which is completely false. And there is a lot of evidence about it. Some people still believe that vaping or nicotine can cause cancer, EVALI, popcorn lung, all these kind of illnesses. So this is absolutely not true. There is a lot of science about it. And yeah, there are a lot of myths. It will take so long if we go through all of them because there is a lot, but that's actually why we joined this community campaign, right? We were looking to separate reality from fiction and to debunk all these myths. And we have been supporting this campaign with our own materials, adding into those that the vaping community has created. We have been pushing for the truth in our social media networks, in our Vaping Unplugged podcast, everywhere we can. And I want to encourage everyone to check the link that we're going to leave in the comment section. They can find all the materials there. They can find all the information. They can spread the word. And actually, Michael has done a great interview to Dr. Bernd Mayer about these myths, and they have done a great job debunking some of them. So let's actually watch it.
Hi everyone, I'm thrilled because it's been yet another year since we've been celebrating the World Vape Day. I want to congratulate the vaping community with this day, and I want to encourage everyone to keep raising their voices and keep providing accurate data about vaping and harm reduction overall. One of the most common myths in my country is that nicotine can cause cancer, which is false. And sadly, many consumers and even medical experts do not understand that. It's the combustion of thousands of other chemicals in conventional cigarettes that can cause pulmonary cardiovascular diseases or cancer. So that is why it is very important to provide consumers with accurate information on safer nicotine consumption and harm reduction. Let's vape on and keep raising our voices. Happy World Vape Day.
First of all, I would like to wish everyone in vaping community a very happy World Vape Day. And then Malaysia Vapers Alliance would like to wish everyone the same happy World Vape Day. And please continue advocating for harm reduction and support the use of vaping products to help smokers quit. The most common vaping myth in Malaysia is that people think vape is equally harmful compared to cigarettes. But in reality, vape has been scientifically proven to be less harmful compared to cigarettes. And this has been endorsed by multiple international public health bodies and government. So whenever you heard that people say that vape is equally harmful than cigarettes, then that is definitely a myth. Vape can help smokers quit. So I would love to wish everyone again a happy World Vape Day. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Allison Buchner from the US, congratulating everyone on another World Vape Day. Harm reduction is so important, and we need to keep raising our voices to make everyone aware that there is an option that can get you away from deadly cigarettes. Happy World Vape Day to everyone. In the US here, unfortunately, we have misconceptions that vaping is just as harmful or more harmful than smoking cigarettes. And it's something that we really need to set the record straight on. Cheers to World Vape Day, and keep doing what you're doing.
Hello, I'm Mike from Czech Republic, and I wish all smokers around the world the courage, the strength for the most difficult step to quit smoking. For me personally, electronic cigarette has helped me the most. And in the time I've been smoke-free, I've come across a huge amount of myths about vaping. My favorite is water on the lungs. There is absolutely no need to worry about it, because water on the lungs can occur only with an infection or a very serious disease or illness. So, fingers crossed, you all make it through the first steps.
Hello vapers, happy World Vape Day. Have you ever heard about the myth that vaping is more addictive than smoking? Well, there's actually a lot of people that believe that vaping is more addictive than smoking and that it does not help for quitting smoking, but this is completely false. Why so? First of all, there are several studies that show that vaping is much less addictive than smoking cigarettes. And secondly, there's also a lot of evidence showing that vaping is a great tool for quitting smoking. In fact, vaping has been proven to be twice as effective as any other nicotine replacement therapy for quitting smoking. Moreover, in vaping, the only addictive component is nicotine, which is virtually harmless, and which also you can reduce the amount of nicotine that you vape in your liquids, or you can completely eliminate it. So, let's spread the truth and debunk the myths about vaping. Vape on!
One of the popular misconceptions about vaping is a claim that it's a gateway to smoking, which has not been supported by the evidence so far. For example, in the UK, only 1.5% of non-smokers are currently vaping. In many countries, daily smoking rates have been record low thanks to vaping. In countries like France, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK, vaping is a recommended smoking cessation tool. There are many studies that show that vaping is twice as effective in smoking cessation as a nicotine replacement therapy. And multiple NGOs, such as NGO Cochrane, recommend vaping for quitting smoking due to its effectiveness. So please trust only reliable sources and help us spread the information that vaping is a gateway out of smoking and not vice versa.
Hey everyone, it's Cem from the Turkish Vapers Alliance, and I'm here to bust the most common vaping myth in Turkey. The most common vaping myth in Turkey is that the idea that vapes give you blasters on your lungs, which doesn't seem to be the case since there isn't enough evidence, enough health evidence supporting that fact, and there isn't enough experiments supporting that argument either. And all the arguments based on that assessment is solely has been originated by some news articles which has not been truly fact-checked by the health authorities. Hence, it will be fair to say that no, vapes do not necessarily give one's lungs blasters, and it is a myth that needs to be busted. I would like to congratulate the World Vaping Day of all the vapers around the world and many loves from Turkey. Let's fight for better alternatives, more safer ones, and fight the harm done by the traditional cigarette consumptions. Cheers.
Hello, I am Mohamed Maga from Sierra Leone, West Africa. I'm also a member of the World Vaping Alliance. So I want to say congratulations to the World Vape Day and to all vaping communities. So in Sierra Leone, majority of the people in Sierra Leone believe that vaping products, more especially e-cigarettes, cause the same harmful effect as the combustible cigarette smoking. So there is this misunderstanding, misinformation, and another key thing is the fact that vaping products are not much more common in Sierra Leone. A lot of people are not aware that there is existence of e-cigarettes in Sierra Leone. So for those that are aware, they have this belief that it's the same effects, harmful effects that you will come up with, or the dangers of smoking e-cigarettes is the same as the dangers of smoking combustible cigarette.
Greetings and happy World Vapers Day to every vapor out there. Congratulations to every person that has managed to successfully quit using combustible cigarettes through vaping. One of the common misconceptions or myths about vaping in Malawi is that some people tend to associate vaping to be as the same as using hookah or shisha. We understand that this comes from a need to associate vaping with something that they are more familiar with, and in Malawi, hookah or shisha is far more available than vaping devices, and we do our job to inform them that using hookah or shisha is equally or far more dangerous than using combustible cigarettes. And at the same time, we do our job to also inform them that vaping is much safer than both cigarettes or hookah and shisha.
Hello vapers, happy World Vape Day. I think vaping should be celebrated everywhere in the world. A lot of people believe that there is not enough scientific evidence about vaping, which is completely untrue. There's more than enough evidence saying that vaping is actually 95% less harmful than smoking. You can also watch numerous of testimonials from vapers demonstrating how vaping actually saved their lives. So let's celebrate vaping together.
Hi, this is Kurt from Vaping Saved My Life, and a happy World Vape Day to you all. So let's talk about myths, and one of the biggest myths that floats around in South Africa is related to respiratory complaints. These are popcorn lung, blisters on the lungs, water on the lungs. We all understand that popcorn lung has been debunked time and time again, and I assume that the blisters and water on the lung refers to an event that happened in the United States in 2019, Diwali, which was linked to illicit THC products, which was cut with vitamin E acetate. This is now common knowledge and it should be shared. So my advice to everybody out there is, do your research and understand that a lot of these myths have been debunked, and it's preventing real change in helping people quit smoking and advising policymakers to take the wrong choice. So have a good day, and happy Vape Day again to all. Cheers.
Bernd, welcome with us. Now you have heard a lot of different myths on World Vape Day, so we see there is still some work to do. Let me start probably with a strange question, but a very interesting question for our audience. What is your favorite myth about vaping, or the myth you must have debunked the most in your career so far?
I think it's related to nicotine addiction, because it's claimed, or smokers are told, that the switch to vaping means just replacing one addiction by another. Okay, so and this is, I mean, it's a bit true. I wouldn't call it a myth, but it's a misleading of the people, because the smokers typically don't die from their addiction, but they die from the inhalation of toxic compounds. And so the argument that you keep your addiction, that you just replace it, is absolutely stupid, because you're much better off when you vape as compared to smoking. And the other, maybe I'm allowed to have a second favor, and the second one is the missing long-term studies. It's always claimed it took 50 or 60 years to recognize the dangers of smoking and the health problems that are caused by smoking. And so we have to wait 40, 50, 60 years until we know whether vaping is similarly harmful as smoking. And this is, of course, stupid. Vaping is around for 10 years, and even common sense tells you that it cannot be the same harm as smoking burned tobacco smoke.
I love that you mentioned the nicotine myth right away, because I'm wearing our new campaign t-shirt. I've got 99 problems, but nicotine ain't one. So that's actually perfect. So let's start with the nicotine one, because I think the first main misconception about nicotine is that people equate it with smoking, because for, I don't know, 50 years, there was no way to separate nicotine consumption from smoking. So people automatically think nicotine is the problem in the cigarette and think nicotine is causing the cancer. Is that true, or is that a myth?
No, of course not. Nicotine is definitely not a cancerogenic compound. I mean, public health and the opponents of vaping try hard to show some evidence that nicotine can cause cancer. And they feed mice, with tons of nicotine, and then they really get tumors. But this is out of any reality. There's no evidence at all that nicotine can cause cancer. What it does, and what is biologically plausible, is that it promotes the growth of tumors. So if you have already a tumor, nicotine consumption could possibly, I say possibly, enhance the speed of growth. That has been shown in animals, and that's plausible because nicotine increases the formation of new blood vessels. And with these blood vessels, tumors get more oxygen and more nutrients, and so it's possible that you increase the speed of growth, but it will certainly not cause a cancer. So the problem is if you have it already. And then it's the question, if you're suffering from lung cancer in a terminal state, I think it's not a real problem that nicotine could speed up the thing. You shouldn't do.
Yeah, and I think I was a bit imprecise because we also have for a long time another product which is very popular in Sweden, snus. So they use it for decades or probably hundreds of years, an alternative form of nicotine, and we see lower cancer rates in
much lower cancer rates. They correlate with the low smoking rates. And the opponents, again, so I'm playing the devil's advocate, actually. The opponents say this is unrelated to snus, but this is just a good policy in Scandinavia, in Sweden and Norway. The same applies to Norway, actually. And it's just a policy. It's unrelated to the widespread use of snus, which is, of course, very hard to believe. But they have always arguments against the Sweden argument, because Sweden is very convincing. I think the cancer rates are by about 50% of those from in Germany.
Yeah, and I think the interesting case is very few people know about that. So I think they also try to keep the Swedish example quiet, because we would have already one country in the EU which is achieving also the smoke-free goal, but nobody knows about it, not even those people who fight exactly for that goal. And now we have a country which achieves those goals, but apparently with the wrong measures or the wrong way of doing so.
But it's similar with the UK. Huh? I mean, I'm always told the UK doesn't count. This is an island, and the UK policy and UK experience with e-cigarettes doesn't count because they are far away. Now they're even out of the EU, so they don't count. Isn't that crazy? They don't have different lungs. I mean, I suppose that the British people have very similar lungs to our lungs, but still the experience and all the studies and so on, that doesn't count.
Yeah, it's a different parliament, so obviously then they have different lungs as well, apparently. And sticking for one more question with nicotine, you already mentioned it, the difference between addiction and dependence. Maybe you can explain a little bit that, and what role does nicotine actually play in smoking dependence?
The terms addiction and dependence, this would be in German Sucht and Abhängigkeit. These terms are not very well defined, or not defined at all. I watched a discussion between experts, real addiction experts. What I'm not an expert in addiction, yeah? But I watched the debate of these experts, internationally renowned experts on addiction, and they didn't agree. And they didn't even agree on what's worse in the public perspective. Is it worse to call it an addiction, or is it worse to call it a dependence? That's very difficult to distinguish, and actually the official terms now are substance abuse disorder. So both dependence and addiction are not distinguished anymore, but they're taken together as substance use disorder. So, but I think we know what we mean when we talk about addiction or dependence. That means that when you discover at 2 o'clock in the morning that you don't have cigarettes in the house, that you dress up, jump in your car, go to the next vending machine and buy a package of cigarettes. I did so when I was smoking, and I think this is a kind of dependence. I didn't even smoke a cigarette then, but it was just a feeling to have it in-house, and then I could sleep again. Yeah? So it's clear that's dependence. And the question is now, is it the same dependence when smokers switch to vaping? Most people tell me that the pressure that they feel to vape is much lower when after having switched. So they tell me when they forgot the cigarettes, when they go to work in the morning, they would go back or buy cigarettes. And then they forget about their e-cigarette. They don't care. Then they don't vape for a day and wait until evening. So it's very clear that the dependence is lower. And there are also studies. There's some studies proposing that the addictive potential is similar to the potential of nicotine gums. There are some people who become addicted and stay addicted to nicotine gums. They're chewing forever.
I mean, that's the next interesting point when it comes to nicotine, because it seems to be only a problem in vaping products or in pouches, but not in nicotine gums or patches or something like that.
Of course. Now, of course, it's a neurotoxin only in e-cigarettes, not in the gums and in the patches. It's highly addictive like heroin, only in gums, but not in the patches. It's interesting. Here in Austria, the regulations in different countries are different. In Austria, these gums and patches are approved for children above 12 years of age if they are smoking. Yeah? So I cannot imagine that we sell or approve a highly addictive, comparable to heroin, a highly addictive neurotoxin, potentially deadly, that we approve that for children above 12, freely available in pharmacies.
And also coming in flavors.
Yeah, they are also flavored, but the flavors that they don't attract the children in gums and patches, but just in e-cigarettes. This is the flavor nonsense that comes now.
Yeah, I mean, we heard that in the video as well, and I think that's also a widely spread myth about vaping, or also misunderstanding that most policymakers don't understand the important role of flavors when it comes to smoking cessation with vaping, or also with pouches where you also have different flavors. They have this impression, but also the general public, I think, that no adult needs these flavors. It should be only tobacco taste and that's it, because no grown man will want strawberry.
But I understand that. When I switched, it's more than 10 years ago. Yeah? When I switched from smoking to vaping, the first liquid that I used was Marlboro Red. I couldn't imagine to vape mango or strawberry or fruits. Yeah? I'm a real man. I'm a cool man. And of course, I vape tobacco. But after a couple of weeks, I realized that other stuff is just tasting better. It's better than the tobacco flavor. And the other thing is that in the United States, it used to e-cigarettes with tobacco flavor were called unflavored. So this distinguished unflavored e-cigarettes, this is with tobacco flavor, from the flavor which contain fruit or candy. And this is a misconception, because the tobacco flavors are the most complex flavors that are available. I've seen analysis of the ingredients of these flavors. Tobacco flavors contain about 60 to 70 different single compounds, while a strawberry liquid contains maybe 5 to 10 or so. Yeah? So it's just a misconception to call them unflavored, but the argument is not the harm that they're causing. Huh? Now in the debate, nobody really claims that strawberry flavor is harmful to health. Yeah? The claim is that it's attractive to children. And this is the other misconception. And I think they just use this argument as a kind of last resort to argue against vaping and against e-cigarettes to make them less attractive, because they don't really believe it. I don't think that the people really believe, the public health really believes that grown-ups don't want flavors. That's the same with alcohol, with these alcohol pops. I don't know what you are drinking, but I'm not confined to vodka. I also drink Campari or red wine or whatever. This is all flavors. We all like flavors. The same is true for ice cream. I love chocolate and strawberry ice cream. And I'm certainly not a
And nevertheless, you're a real man.
I'm not a teenager anymore. I mean, I have my driver license here, if you don't believe. I'm not a teenager. And that's true for everybody. And there are enough studies out, which surveys where they ask vapers, what do you consume? And it's a minor fraction that uses tobacco flavors. I still use a little bit of them. I mix them with strawberry and mint. I love this taste. But it's not a major flavor for most grown-ups.
Yeah, and I think the misconception goes further because they don't understand that we also switch flavors, that you can get some kind of flavor fatigue. So it doesn't make a difference if they only allow tobacco, only allow strawberry. It will be the same result, that people get annoyed by it and want something else. And then the question is, where do they get this something else? From the black market or from the regulated, controlled vape shop?
Man, what will happen probably is that people start to add their own flavors. I mean, flavors are available everywhere, and then they take these food flavors, not knowing which are suited and which are not suited for vaping, because you cannot vape all, you cannot vape oils. You can so you have to know what you can use and what you cannot use. In vape shops, it's no problem because they just sell the proper flavors. But in the do-it-yourself, sooner or later, some idiots will mix the wrong flavors. And we had this with the EVALI in the United States. And then they blame it on the e-cigarettes. It's really dangerous, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think you already mentioned it as well in the second answer you gave about the flavors, that a lot of people who are against vaping, they know they can't ban it right away anymore. I think especially politicians, they know, okay, this is too much of a backlash, so they opt for the second best option, which is banning flavors, while knowing that would be a de facto ban kind of for most people.
Since I'm in this field and active in this field, what I see is the overall goal is to make vaping as a little attractive, as unattractive as possible. That started 10 or 12 years ago when Böttcher Langer suggested that freely available e-cigarettes should be gray or black. All colored e-cigarettes should only be sold in pharmacies, because the colored e-cigarettes, they attract children, and we grown-ups, we just use black and gray e-cigarettes. This, I'm not joking, it's still published in the publication of the DKF set. Yeah.
And on a more general basis, to end this, why do you think, or where do you think comes this from? Is it not understanding the potential for public health, or is it just blatant hatred against nicotine consumption? Does quitting smoking need to hurt for those people, and it can't be a pleasure like vaping does? Where is this coming from? Because it's actually not that complicated to understand that it's less harmful, so it's better for public health than when more people switch to less harmful alternatives. It's not rocket science.
You now said is the central message. That should be sufficient. It's 100, let's say 50-fold less harmful than smoking. So the message should be for every smoker, try to switch, leave smoking, go to vaping. That's very clear because it's less harmful. Then we can debate about everything else. We can debate about children and about the youth protection and stuff like that. But the first message should be it's less harmful. That's what you said. But why is this not the case? This is a very complex question, actually. And in my book, I wrote a whole chapter about this controversy, where it comes from. Yeah, it's not a scientific controversy. All scientists on this world who are worthy of that name, the real scientists, agree on this matter. There's no debate. Yeah? So the debate is in policy, is in public health, and not in the science. The science is very clear. There's an international consensus that vaping is 50 to 100-fold less harmful than smoking. That's very clear. Yeah? So where does it come from? I think this is a combination of money and ideology. Yeah? So the money, of course, there's hardcore financial interest in the cigarette market for many stakeholders. I don't want to blame anybody, but I think we all know who's interested in the smokers. It starts from the state, of course, because of the taxes, what they try in Germany now. They have increased the taxes to amazing highs. Yeah? I mean, instead of reducing it, this is one thing. And then the other thing is, of course, the ideology. And the ideology, there are people in public health who spend their life on trying to reduce smoking rates with terrible measures like these shock pictures and bans of smoking. Even in parks, you are not allowed to smoke anymore. The public, meanwhile, thinks they get cancer when they see a smoker 100 meter away. Yeah? So they tried everything. Yeah? They raised the costs and did everything, but with very little success. So the smoking rates were keeping on a high level for a long, long time, for decades actually. And now suddenly, without their input, without any help from public health, in a bottom-up process, people start to do it by themselves. They just go to a shop, buy an e-cigarette and stop. So I can tell it from my own experience. What I tried, and I had medical help, I had courses and everything. Nothing could stop me from smoking. But the first e-cigarette, then it took me 3 more weeks, and I was a non-smoker. Yeah? And so this is, of course, for people who spent their life in this topic. I mean, it's a disaster. That their life is ruined. I mean, it must come from their activity. They have to achieve that, and not the people themselves.
Yeah, and I think they see kind of the success and the falling smoking rates. So now they need new targets, this kind of mission creep. Otherwise, they can't exist anymore if people quit smoking without them. Yeah. So now they need to fight nicotine.
If you're if you're used to being wars and then you have no enemy, you have to find some. And so they really, I said this often, they replaced the real enemy. Smoking is an enemy. I mean, it was justified to fight against smoking because it kills people. But then there would be a possibility to get rid of this smoking with e-cigarettes. I remember this when this was in 2006 or 2007 when I saw the first e-cigarette. I had it in my hands. And I said, okay, now it takes another 15 years and then nobody will smoke anymore in this world. And I'm still convinced if public health would have been behind this product and would have, really informed the public, then my prognosis would have been probably right. But I never expected such, how shall I say, such a fight against this product. When I wrote to non-smoking organizations, to different organizations, told them about this e-cigarette. And instead, I expected it. I said, fantastic, we need that and so on. I got shitstorms, I got mails from all over different places, whether I'm crazy and no, and they're still inhaling. And so the new enemy was made up. And the new enemy is nicotine. The enemy used to be smoking. That's why they invented this nicotine replacement therapy, well knowing that nicotine doesn't do much harm. Otherwise, they wouldn't recommend nicotine. And now they realized, oops, smoking is not the real enemy because we are in danger that it's gone. So we need a new enemy, we need a new fight, and the new enemy is nicotine. And interestingly, I've seen this often, they write in one paragraph, keep away from e-cigarettes because of the deadly nicotine. And in the next paragraph, they suggest nicotine-containing medicinal products for smoking cessation. This is on the same page, or in two sentences that they speak in interviews, and nobody realizes that. I don't understand.
Well, I think I can assure you that we as vaping consumers, we keep fighting against those kind of myths and this crazy and illogic opposition against vaping and harm reduction in general. And we are super thankful that you joined us for debunking some of the most common myths. And I hope we can spread the truth further and help more people to switch to less harmful alternatives and fight back against this misinformation. We've stopped so many people to switching to less harmful alternatives. So thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Again, like last year, we highly appreciate it, and have a nice day.
Wow, what a great video. And actually, it was so great to hear from our partner community about the myths that they're facing in different countries. There's definitely a lot of misconceptions around vaping in Italy as well, and among all of my acquaintances. So I'm very happy that we can join the vaping community and help spread the accurate information, because that's something that a lot of people do not have either access to, or they don't know that they need to look for it. They just believe what's being told in the public or in the media. And I really hope that after these efforts, and after there's been so much effort to spread accurate information and studies and researches and facts, that vaping will finally find its proper acknowledgement in the society. And speaking of that, Michael, what are we expecting next?
Yeah, I mean, as we already mentioned, first and foremost, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, to World No Tobacco Day, where we meet the Vikings again, and we will also have a press conference on how the EU should actually learn from Sweden with 2 MEPs. So I'm very grateful that the politicians start to listen as well and support the cause. Obviously, especially from the Nordic countries. And now we need to make sure that the rest of the EU will hear the Swedish story and learn from it, and no longer ignoring it. And obviously then later this year, we are having the famous COP10 meetings, where we expect some crazy regulations coming, like the bans of open systems, or they want to redefine smoke and put vaping in there and all those kind of things. So we will definitely be campaigning against those kind of things. And I also urge consumers to raise your voice, because now it's the time where the countries choose their delegates. So contact your health minister and tell them about the actual facts, and help busting some of the myths.
So, World Vape Day 2023 is coming to an end with this. I hope you have enjoyed the stream, hearing about myths, hearing from our partners. Just remember that we will be continuing our fight in defense of vaping. And if you want to support us, there are several things you can do. First of all, you can sign up and become WVA member if you haven't done so far. Second of all, Michael already mentioned that it's very important to share your personal stories, because that's what actually matters, and that will help us to debunk all the myths, because people and everyone are going to hear and some of them are also struggling to quit, are going to hear that there is this harm reduction method that will help them. We have this section on our website where you can always share your testimonials, and just generally do that through social media or any other media that you use, basically. And don't be shy. That matters. Last but not least, keep raising your voices, because it's very important. We'll continue our fight, and I hope we'll continue it together with you. So happy World Vape Day, and traditionally, vape on.
Vape on.
Vape on.
Bye bye.